I think it's past time. It's high time, well and truly time that we got rid of borders. Literally got rid of borders. No, I don't mean letting criminals into the country. I mean, we still got to screen people that go from one landmass to another landmass. I don't think that we need a new world order in the sense of a one world government. We need to realise that the West is on the wrong side of history, and the only way to get on the right side of history is to realise that real eyes realise real lies. Coined by Tupac Shakur. That was. Yeah, I know. I've got to get outside yet. It's coming. It's coming. Give me a hard time. I'm cooking some dinner.
The truth of the matter is the West, the Europeans, are by far the most animalistic people on earth, truly. The Europeans and their American children. You need to know this. Like I said, everyone outside the West needs to know this, needs to understand this. And Westerners themselves need to know this about themselves. And actually need to face this fact. They are the most animalistic people in the world. You know how animals in the wild, especially predators, predatory animals, if one of their pack gets wounded or gets old or gets sick, what do? Well, they leave it to die, don't they? If you can't hunt, you're useless to the pack. No one's going to carry you. Well, who does that sound like? They literally used to throw old people off a cliff when they got too old in Europe. Now they just throw them into nursing homes or sedate them or what have you. Or else they literally will just let them lose everything and die homeless in the street. They don't care. Nobody cares. And the moment you're old enough to hunt, okay, predatory animals. With predatory animals, the moment you're old enough to hunt, you're on your own. Go make your own pack. No one's going to take care of you. Well, in the West, they can't wait to get their kids out the house. You're 18, why are you still under my roof, right? That's their thinking. That's animalistic. And this runs through their whole society. It runs through their whole culture. Their economy is a hunting economy. It's a predatory economy. Acquire resources, seize the prey, take, get yours, don't worry about anyone else. That's their thinking. Very territorial as well. Very controlling. Always competing. Always fighting. Always trying to obtain dominance. Always laying claim. Laying claim to this and that and the other. Claiming their dominion. The United States of America has spread its scent like a predatory animal all the way down to the tip of Chile and Argentina. It's so animalistic, in fact, that they came up with a so-called scientific theory that asserts the idea that human beings are nothing but animals, and that teaches the idea that we can learn about human behavior by studying chimpanzees, by studying gorillas, by studying wolves, and so forth. I mean, once you recognize this about them, you can see it, like I say, running through every aspect of their whole so-called civilization. It's a fundamental, foundational belief that human beings are innately bestial and predatory and selfish and alone. They're coming from a very deep place of contempt for mankind. You're not going to be able to properly analyze anything that involves Westerners if you don't understand this about their collective psyche, about their cultural background, about their framework, about their paradigms. And furthermore, you're not going to be able to properly evaluate any Westerner's analysis of anything if you don't understand this.
Hello guys, welcome once again to the channel. I hope wherever you're watching, you're having a great time. Now, many times I've always brought for you clips of Shahid Bolsen speaking about different issues, global affairs, political issues, and many others. In today's video, he was speaking about the self-cannibalization that America is having on the Western Hemisphere. One of the things that has always happened is that the Western Hemisphere, or the West as it's always called, has always focused on destroying countries within the southern hemisphere, which are the global south. And that really has led to many of countries in the global south becoming impoverished. And some of the things that they have been fighting for did not really get to see the light of day. Because one of the things that Western nations always do, they're always very focused towards ensuring that they exploit countries in the global south. That's why poverty continues to exist in those countries. Yet, it is not innately that those countries are poor. Some of those countries are very much blessed with natural resources. For example, Africa. They have many mineral resources that if countries were supposed, or even continents, were supposed to be graded based on the wealth they carry, I think no continent would be ahead of Africa. But because of the activities of those in the global West, they have always continued to lie to them, create wars, divide them, and make them not know their worth. And Shahid Bolsen contends that this is the case of what is now happening for Europe and other Western nations. He says that Trump is an ally of the global elite that are controlling the perceptions of the world as it is, and that his main mission is to come and create a war or a difference between the Western nations such that they will be fighting within themselves. And America in itself, through Trump, seems to be gearing up towards colonizing even the Western nations. That's why, for him, he says, Trump has this notion that Canada can be easily be mixed up with the United States and be one country, because he says that border that exists between the United States and Canada is an imaginary line that can be eliminated. Why does Trump wants to go and to take up Greenland? Yet, this is a portion of a country in the European Union that has always been an ally to the United States. Things are really shaping up in a different way, as many people thought it would be. And this is what Shahid Bolsen is speaking about. I have this video, let us watch it to the end, then I shall come back with my commentaries.
Welcome to the next generation of website creation, Wix Harmony. Get the power of AI and the freedom of drag and drop to turn your words into a website with purpose and a brand that's entirely yours to shape. Work alongside our...
Yeah, I watched that speech. So when you watch that, you have to be able to see how the A National OCGFC are operating and why Trump is their man. I mean, I've been telling you for 3 years, going on 3 years, that there's a destabilization campaign against Europe. That's what the Ukraine war actually is. It's a proxy war being waged by the United States, not against Russia, but against Europe. I've been telling you that they're turning on each other. The West is turning on itself. I've been telling you that America is going to become more and more interested in creating conflict in the West, not in the global South. I've been telling you that the historical roles of the global North and the global South are going to be reversed. Didn't I tell you that? Well, look at the last Trump press conference. He's talking about destroying Canada economically. He's talking about trying to force them into submission. That's what all this talk is really about. He's talking about making the whole country into an American state. And he's talking about doing the same thing with Greenland. Except with Greenland, he even said that they might use military force to do it. So that's a direct threat against the EU, and they've taken it as such. He's literally saying that America could potentially use military force against a European country in order to seize territory from them. Seize European territory. Well, that's nothing but colonization. What he's talking about with regards to Canada, that's nothing but colonization. The man is talking about occupying, colonizing, and pillaging other Western countries, the resources of other Western countries. He called the border between Canada...
Okay, let's have a three-way conversation. What is this? It's a stray feral mutt turning on itself. Chasing its own tail. Turning on its own pack. Ha! Yeah, we're all civilized, aren't we?
And the U.S. an artificially drawn line. I mean, Putin didn't even say that about Ukraine. Meanwhile, the border with Mexico, well, that isn't artificial at all. It's just an artificial border between Canada and America. Greenland and Canada get to become American states. Meanwhile, Puerto Rico is called a floating island of garbage at a Trump campaign rally over the summer. So Puerto Rico is trash, and the Mexican border needs a wall, but the border with Canada is just an imaginary line. It doesn't really exist. Now, the obvious racism is just that. It's obvious. But if you think about it a little bit more deeply, there's a reason for drawing a demarcation line like this, what Trump is trying to do. The U.S. empire is looking at subjugating the northern hemisphere, and the southern hemisphere is no longer any of their business. It's out of their sphere of influence. In fact, the southern hemisphere is the ascendant hemisphere. I mean, did you notice how his press conference, how it began? What he did, what the real reason for the press conference was? He was talking about the UAE pumping in $20 billion of investment into the United States. I mean, imagine. We're already at this point. We're already at the point where an American president is bragging about successfully attracting foreign direct investment from the global south into America. I mean, this is usually the kind of thing that a president in the global south would be bragging about, you know, being able to attract foreign investment. But now you have the president of the United States, or the president-elect of the United States, being proud and bragging about the UAE opening up data centers in his country. Role reversal. It's actually really interesting to me. It's interesting to watch all of this play out, alhamdulillah, in our lifetime. We're seeing a drastic, a major change. Basically, the neocons, the nationalistic OCGFC, are being placated. This is what Trump is doing. They're being redirected to feed their cannibalistic appetites on other Anglo-Saxons. I mean, this was the West's primary activity for centuries. Before they ever invaded our lands, they just cannibalized each other. That was the main pastime. So we're coming full circle. I mean, of course, the neocons need to maintain a fantasy of power. And I think that that's partly what's going on with Trump's outlandish suggestion. It's giving them something to dream about while they create nightmares for everyone else. I mean, the suggestion that the United States could just take Canada, take Greenland, it may sound absurd, but it actually reveals something far deeper than just the mere posturing of a braggart. This is in the imperial DNA of the Western power structure, a system that has thrived, has absolutely thrived on the subjugation of others' lands, others' resources, and other people for centuries. It isn't just about geography. This is about desperation on the part of the West, on the part of America. It's about a crumbling empire that's grasping at fantasies to try to reclaim relevance as its power slips away. To entertain the idea of annexing Canada or annexing Greenland or both in the 21st century is clinging to a mindset that belongs in the colonial past. It's obviously geopolitically absurd to try to do something like this today with all of the alliances and the sovereignties that are at play. But the point isn't whether this is feasible or not. It's that the very notion itself reflects an empire that is incapable of adapting to a world that is no longer defined by its dominance. The United States is not asserting strength here, it's telegraphing fear. This isn't a serious proposal. It's a tantrum dressed up as a strategy. It's the instinct of a predator whose fangs have fallen out, and they're lashing out in vain as his prey slips through its fingers. In my opinion, Trump is giving the neocons a fantasy of America as a great, giant imperial landmass like China or the former Soviet Union, a landmass of majority white people. That's important, because as so-called minorities, or rather as members of the global majority who happen to live in America, as they are increasingly becoming the collective majority of that country, in other words, as white people are gradually becoming the largest minority in America, well, racists in America have a demographic problem, similar to the Zionists. But unlike the Zionists, if America starts annexing territory in the Northern Hemisphere, well, that's territory that has its own kind in it. They have their own kind there. Now, if the Zionists seize territory, well, it's not filled with Jews. In fact, they don't even have enough Jews in the world. There's not even enough Jews on earth to fill the territory that they want, or even the territory that they already have. But if America takes Canada, if America takes Greenland, well, then the white population of the new United States empire would be at least increased by a few percentage points, which matters to them. Maybe more if Canada adopts a mass deportation policy like America. See, it's almost like they're trying to gather all their own kind together and either expel or refuse entry to the so-called racial and so-called ethnic demographic groups of the global majority who they never liked. And that's actually something that the global majority should be happy about, to be honest. The global majority should be happy about that. You should be happy about the anti-immigration policies, frankly. Because they're literally trying to keep you off of a sinking ship, while they're telling everyone else who's stuck on board that ship that it was the weight that was making them sink, not the gaping hole in the side of the vessel. In other words, they're lying to their own people about what's really happening about and why their ship is going down. But they're trying to keep you from jumping from the iceberg onto the Titanic, which is exactly what it is when anyone immigrates from the global south into America or into the West. You're just jumping from the iceberg to the Titanic. And they're trying to keep you off of it with their anti-immigration policies. Now, of course, this new Trumpian manifest destiny is nothing but a daydream. It doesn't really mean anything in reality. Trump is selling hallucinogens to the neocons. And of course, he's also just providing a distraction to the American people. This is one of the main things that politicians do in America. He's providing them a distraction that will appeal to their nationalistic ego and their nationalistic vanity. Anytime America talks about anything outside of America, all they're trying to do is distract their citizens from what's happening in their country, from the inequalities, from the economic collapse, from the erosion of their rights. All of this is happening in their own neighborhoods. So let's look somewhere else. Let's try to make them look somewhere else. It's for the American people to try to keep them looking outwards while their own houses burn down. And I mean that literally. I mean, I don't think you could find, or I don't think you could imagine or come up with a better metaphor for America today than what's happening in California right now. You've got tens of billions of dollars worth of damage from those fires in California. Meanwhile, there's no water. The fire extinguishers aren't producing any water. Their firefighting equipment is all gone to Ukraine. Whole neighborhoods in Los Angeles, subhanAllah, whole neighborhoods in Los Angeles look like Gaza today. How about that? And you have a mayor who doesn't even know that a URL, or that the term URL isn't the same thing as a website. This is America. So yes.
The irony. The irony. You can't make this shit up. The irony. Victoria burns with worn out old equipment. Trucks that won't start. Trucks that do start, get them to the job and then fail. A firefighting service is disgruntled by firearms legislation. Firearms, I mean, is that even a pun at this point? Firefighters disgruntled about the firearms legislature. Curly burly chips for dinner. Well, the place burns down. Politicians are just throwing money all over the place to keep us distracted from the fires. Machete bins sitting empty, but somehow cost a shitload of money. I mean, 10 times more than what they should have, at least. Quite sure there's plenty of old skip bins around the place that could have had a lid put on them. Vinnie's bins, the likes. But, you know, costs a lot of money to fill them bins with machete, doesn't it? Get on with it. Squirrel!
So you pretend that you're going to transform into some huge, expansive geographic empire from the Arctic all the way down to the renamed Gulf of America, just to divert from the reality of your reduction as a world empire. You talk big even though you can't even fill your own boots anymore. And that's why you talk big. Because you're shrinking. Now, no, that doesn't mean that it's all empty talk. It's not completely empty because, as I say, the A National GFC have a plan. It's what I've been talking about for 3 years. Relations are going to become increasingly hostile between the U.S. and Canada, between the U.S. and Europe, between the U.S. and the rest of the Northern Hemisphere. Everyone is being misled, in my opinion, with regards to thinking that Trump wants to have problems with China, that he's trying to make problems with China, or that he's confrontation with China. I don't think that's accurate at all. They're going to be making problems for the West. America's going to be making problems for the West, which essentially just delivers the global South to China and to BRICS. MAGA isn't about helping the American people any more than a corporate restructuring is about helping the workers. That's how you can probably conceptualize what's happening in America. America is downsizing. All well, just like with a company, when they downsize, they're telling everyone that they're just consolidating and they're just streamlining and that everything they're doing is just going to make everything better than it ever was. They're going to make the company stronger than it ever was and so on. Meanwhile, the richest of the rich in America are perched with their golden parachutes that will float them off into the global South while your cities crash and burn. This is the death rattle of a system in crisis. Western colonial capitalism in its current form is unsustainable, and that's obvious. The U.S. economy has been hollowed out by financialization, by deindustrialization, and it can no longer stand on its own. That's a fact. The system runs on blood. The system runs on turmoil. Canada and Greenland and Europe have had a good run in terms of being able to orbit the United States without ever having gotten sucked into the vortex of that vampiric system. But that good run is over, and they're going to get sucked in. The same system that they use to pillage the global South is turning its sights around. You've heard about those prisons where the inmates rebel and take over the facility. Well, it's kind of like that, I think. The world today is kind of like that. All of your former prisoners, the colonized countries, the so-called developing countries, your former prisoners, have taken over the jail. And now the rifleman in the gun tower is turning his rifle around because he can see which way the wind is blowing. He can see who's actually in charge now. So now you've got prison guards who are stripping off their uniforms to try to put on the prison blues because your uniform just makes you a target. I'm talking about the West now. Oh, the tables are turning. I mean, look at this UAE investment that no one seems to want to talk about. I mean, think about that. The UAE investment was literally the only actual substantive thing, the only actual thing of substance that Donald Trump even talked about at that press conference the other day, and no one's even talking about it. No one is even mentioning that that's actually the reason for the thing. Everyone's talking about Canada, everyone's talking about Greenland, Panama Canal, and so forth. No one even noticed the fact that Mr. America First is bragging about $20 billion in foreign direct investment that's going to go to operate exactly the same way in America that Western investment always operated in our countries. That's exactly what they're doing. I mean, literally. The UAE is doing the exact same thing that the West has always done to us. But no one can see it, and no one's talking about it. You have to understand that the way foreign investment works, it's like a syringe. They tell you that it's injecting you with medicine. But what they actually do is stick that needle in you to suck your blood. So you think that they're injecting, but they're actually extracting. Because look, this deal that he announced, they're going to open data centers in the U.S., okay? Well, aside from how much power and leverage that gives the UAE potentially over American data, which is massive, but let's not even talk about that. There's too many things to say really about that. That's not really even my area. But just consider the fact that data centers notoriously consume a huge amount of energy, a huge amount of electricity. This is why Trump was rambling for most of his press conference. He was rambling on and on and on about drilling, drill baby drill, about coal, and he was even attacking windmills and all sorts of things, which is just too obviously quixotic to even mention. Okay, they use a massive amount of energy, these data centers. They use a massive amount of energy, a massive amount of electricity. That's going to be American energy. That's going to be American electricity, powered either by natural gas, by oil, or by coal, or what have you. Apparently not by windmills. So let's just say that they open 10 data centers. The amount of energy that they will consume to run those data centers is going to be roughly equivalent to the total of U.S. natural gas exports. Imagine. This investment is only partially about the actual data centers themselves. This investment is about sapping America's energy resources. It's an investment into sabotaging America's newfound status as an energy exporter. And that's if they just open 10. If they just open 10 data centers, but they're putting in the $20 billion investment in. For $20 billion, you could open hundreds of data centers, or 10 data centers with the capacity of hundreds. Either way, that's $20 billion that can potentially significantly undermine America's energy self-sufficiency. And more importantly, for the Khalij, for the Gulf, undermine America's competitiveness in the international markets as an energy exporter. This is a very important issue for the UAE. It's a very important issue for the Gulf. Trump knows this, of course, because the national OCGFC knows this. Trump is very close to the Gulf states and always has been. I mean, you can almost say, and this is what I've been saying in the chat, Trump is a Khaliji president. I mean, he's so Khaliji that he wants to change the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America just so America can have a Khalij. What we're witnessing is the West turning on itself. The empire is cannibalizing its allies. They're cannibalizing their own environments now, and they're cannibalizing their own people just to stay alive. This isn't strength. This is desperation. This is a dying system that's clawing at anything to try to keep from falling. I'm talking about the neocons, not the national OCGFC. I'm talking about the nationalistic owners and controllers of capital. But the stronger and the richer faction of the OCGFC, the a-national OCGFC, whom your own system created, that faction of elites are not tied to your domestic prosperity. They're not tied to your domestic economy anymore. And they're not tied to any nation. They are a nation unto themselves, like I keep saying. And they actively want to see your system devour itself because they want to leave the rest of the world to them. They want America out of it. So what does that mean for us, for Muslims, and for the global South? Well, it means that we have to prepare. We have to be serious. We have to build. Because as the empire collapses, we have an opportunity to create something that we haven't seen in the world for hundreds of years. This isn't a call to resist. It's a call to lead, to show the world that there is a different way. There is a just way. There's a way that's rooted in harmony and cohesion and collective sovereignty. And I think that's what we're seeing develop. So let's not be distracted by the empire's desperate fantasies. We have to focus on the work ahead. We have to understand what's actually happening because there are tremendous risks. I mean, BRICS is working with the national OCGFC, and that's perilous in and of itself. They are predatory. They're just the same as neocons in terms of being predators. They want to worm their way into dominance in the global South. So we have to negotiate that relationship very carefully. This is going to require cool heads, calm calculation, patience, and long-term planning. So you have to try to not get caught up in the flash bombs that they drop sporadically, Western politicians. You need to pay close attention to what's actually going on. Because yes, we are in a negotiation, all of us, literally all of us. We're all in a negotiation with power, continuously, constantly, nonstop. You and I are constantly defining the terms of our relationship with power. We are constantly letting them know what they can and cannot get away with. We're letting them know what we require from them. We're letting them know continuously what we will and will not accept. So we really can't afford to let them distract us. The West is turning on itself. So we have to ensure that we are ready to rise when the West falls.
Hello guys, welcome back. I believe you've heard Shahid Bolsen speak. And do you think he's telling the truth or there are some lies you've identified in his speech? Many of you will agree that Shahid Bolsen has some mastery of global geopolitical space, such that some of the things he says have been predicted by him and they end up happening. For instance, what he just asked, he's been saying that Trump's main agenda is to create conflict between United States and its Western allies. And that is the thing that is happening currently. Many Western nations don't even know where to go when it comes to negotiations with the United States. They believe that America was an ally they could run to when they are faced with challenges. But then, right now, one thing that they're learning is that they are on their own. In fact, even Trump seems to be the one who wants to take over some of its countries. So what is happening in the United States? And another question we have to ask, with the behavior of Donald Trump right now, when he talks about Canada and when he also talks about Greenland, do you think he can speak to Vladimir Putin and tell him to keep off Ukraine?
She's up in the room.
If
Make
Trump
sure you're not
thinks that
first, I think
Canada
she's still getting
can be
dressed.
annexed and be part of the United States,
Oh, you're right
do
there.
you think
You matey.
Putin would even be able to obey anything that Trump is saying? And even if you look at how he's been behaving of late, he seems to be so much in bed with Vladimir Putin as opposed to Zelensky, the Ukrainian president. So you get to realize that maybe the things that we think are happening in this global stage are just games that have been made to play with our emotions. Because tell me why a nation that should be the leader of the world, as it has always been called, is the one that is leading in the forefront when it comes to calling for annexation of certain parts of some countries. Yet, they should be there to obey UN Charter and respect every geographical space and sovereignty of different nations. They cannot do that because they want to fulfill an agenda that they have long wanted to achieve. And I believe Shahid Bolsen has been speaking so well, even on issues affecting black people. The last clip that I played for you about Shahid Bolsen, he was speaking to blacks and telling them, you know, in the globe, black people are the majority. But then there is this country called America, where people have been picked from different parts of the world, or people came from different parts of the world and congregated in the United States of America. In that country, blacks stand as minority. And that minority has made many black people think in themselves that they are a minority, even on the globe. Yet in truth, whites are minority. And one of the things they fear is their annihilation. If blacks or people of color get to take up
Right, we got a neighbourly problem. We better go sort it out. I've had to cut it short. So why not come back and do it later?